This is the Wilson Ultra 98J, and I think it's Wilson's best racket. But you're probably like, what the heck is that? I've never heard of this racket before. Well, that's because Wilson won't sell it to you, at least not in North America. It's a Japan-only exclusive because this is Kei Nishikori's racket. When you look at the spec sheet, the 98J is one of the weirdest rackets on the market. 98 square inches, yeah, okay, that's pretty normal, but it's quite light, coming in at 290 grams with a more head-heavy balance at 33 centimeters. For reference, most 98s are either 32 centimeters or a 31.5 centimeter balance point. When it comes to string pattern, we've got the coveted 18 by 19 string pattern seen in some of the greatest rackets of the last couple of years, like the T-Fight 305S and the Percept 100D. On top of that, it's a 1/4 inch extra long, coming in at 27.25 inches long, which is again unusual. Most rackets are 27 inches, and then if they're going to be extended, usually it's by a full 1/2 inch. So what exactly is weird about this combination of specs? Well, tight string patterns like these are usually reserved for heavier rackets with more headlight balance points. Prestige Pro, Gravity Pro, Speed Pro, Percept 97D, even the 100D. We've got, this is less extreme example, but the 305S that we mentioned. Usually when you see 1819, 1820 string patterns, we're talking bare minimum 305 grams with a 31.5 centimeter balance point. And that's where this racket really flips the script. So why go for a more head-heavy balance point? Well, I think balance point is one of the more underrated specs on the market in terms of telling you how that racket feels to swing. I find that more head-heavy balance points really suit the modern forehand swing perfectly. They make it easier to handle slightly higher swing weights, but retain strong maneuverability through this kind of whipping through the court forehand with a lot of wrist lag. That's one of the reasons I love my Pure Aero Rafa, another 290 gram, 33 centimeter balance point frame. It allows huge amounts of wrist lag, huge amounts of racket head speed, despite a slightly higher swing weight than average. It's another thing that I love about another great spin racket you can get, which is the Diadem Axis 100, which again comes with this 33 centimeter balance point. So it's really weird because this racket feels and swings, and the weight setup and distribution, it flies through the air like a spin racket, but it contacts the ball and gives you the directional control of a control racket. It's really like the best of both worlds all combining into one. If I were to summarize what this racket is like to use, it's like the combination of 3 of my favorite rackets on sale today. Got the hitting feel of the Yonex Regna 98, the swing feel of my Babolat Pure Aero Rafa, and the directional control and string bed characteristics of the T-Fight 305S. But what about power? I haven't really spoken about that yet. Well, the power on center is tremendous. This extra length gives you a little bit more leverage on the ball. It's got a slightly higher stock swing weight, so the unstrung swing weight on this sample is about 298 unstrung. Again, because this is extra long, once you add strings, it's more than just your typical 30 points. Additional swing weight, and all that mass behind the ball and all that leverage behind the ball means that you can really hit through the court assertively with this frame. The downsides are, and maybe this is an upside for you because I know a lot of viewers here love slightly more demanding frames, there is drop off in power outside the sweet spot. You truly do get the most in the middle, and then it's not quite as forgiving as you start mishitting it. But when you've got things lined up, this is one of the more powerful 98s out there, definitely in line with something like the Pure Drive 98, which hits a massive ball despite me not liking it that much. And even like on-center power from something like a Pro Staff 97, where it's this kind of swing weight driven but still firm layup of graphite feel. this one is in that range as well. Now, speaking of that unforgiveness, let's move on to stability. Stability is one of the downsides with this frame, and that's kind of what you're going to expect with a lower static weight on average. For a 290 gram frame, it's not bad, but I did certainly feel the need to have this leather grip on this racket, give you a little bit of extra stability, move that balance point down to something a little bit more normal. Off-center stability is not great. It doesn't have the torsional stability of something like the T-Fight 305S. It's maybe more in line with something like the EZO 98, but the EZO 98 has a lot more forgiveness off-center from that thicker beam, so this one is going to twist a little bit more. I think it's pretty fair to say this is close to like a 300S by Technofiber. Not the same stability, especially not the same torsional stability and off-center performance as the 305S, which is heavier, has a higher twist weight. But you get more of this kind of whippy sensation through this one. So it's not surprising that the racket will twist on you on off-center shots, and I think that's part of the charm. It's part of the reason this racket flies through the air, feels so maneuverable. Now, control is one of the things that I absolutely love about this racket. What are you going to expect from an 18x19 string pattern? Launch angle isn't super low. Like, I think it shoots the ball a little bit higher than the 305S, more in line with like the Percept 100D on that side of things. I think part of that is because of the swing feel. The head heavy balance makes it a little bit easier to get under the ball and hit up on your shot, so you're gonna get a naturally much more looping, more arcing ball flight and trajectory out of this frame. But that said, when it becomes time to change direction, if you go for a flatter shot, like my backhand is quite a bit flatter, you still get that directional control, so for changing direction, and the depth control. You can really trust this frame when swinging out. I hit a lot of balls that I thought were certainly gonna fly long because of the slightly higher swing trajectory on my forehand, but they would just come in. They would find the line, dip down, and either force an error from my opponent, if not finding the clean winner out of it. I found I was really started to trust my backhand up the line, which is one of the shots that shows me a racket has tremendous directional control, and found easy and consistent depth on rally balls as long as I stayed committed, which really didn't take too long. The synchronization process for this racket, considering it is extra long, really was not an issue. Now, when it comes to feel, I think that is one of the best parts about the Ultra 98J. Like I said earlier, it reminds me a lot of the Regna 98. There's a specialness to this hitting feel. It's tremendously solid while still being connected. You can feel the flex point of this racket for this one. It's in the throat, so you get that slingshotting feel, something that we did see in last week's video on the FX500 Tour. Reminds me again a lot of the legendary E-Zone DR98, though I don't think the lateral flex is quite as exaggerated on this frame as it is on the DR. It is more in line with the Regna, where you do get a little bit of this, but I think this is overall, for me in my game and how I swing, this is easier to swing than the Regna, so I do hit a better, more consistent ball with it. You can absolutely feel where you make contact on the string bed. It doesn't have this thing that I think has plagued Wilson the last couple of mainstream Wilson rackets, where it's a little bit spongy, a little bit clashy. It's a very pure feel here, closer to something like the Pro Staff or the Blade Pros compared to anything else in Wilson's lineup, and that's exactly what I'm looking for from Wilson. In my opinion, Wilson is the kind of control-oriented, feel-oriented brand in my head. Like, I know that's not what they've become since the Clash, but that's how I think of them if I remember fondly what Wilson was to me growing up. So it really scratches the itch. Now, when it comes to the extension, the 1/4 inch extension, it's way easier to adapt to than the full 1/2 inch that you'll see with most XL frames. The two shots that I find hardest to get used to are the serve, because you have to contact it higher. You don't let the ball drop quite as much. So I serve great with this frame. I like it on serve, but there are some terrible shank misses because I'm just not quite used to the stretch. And then on the forehand, making sure you create that extra space can be a little bit tricky, but I was still able to find like nice cross-court angles with this, which is one of the things that I find harder to do with longer frames. On the backhand, I love the stretch. On the serve, the stretch does pay huge dividends. You feel like you get a little bit more angle of attack. You can hit down on the ball a little bit more once you get used to it. The worst thing about this racket by far is that it's only available in Japan, or I'm sure there are other shops in Asia that carry it. This is not something that you can just get from Tennis Warehouse, unfortunately, though I really wish it was. I think this is the best racket in Wilson's lineup. This is like the forgiving, power, spin-oriented 98 with still decent control that we've been wanting, we've been begging for years at this point, and they just won't give it to us in North America. You do get it in Japan. So I'm honestly honored that I got the chance to try this, so thank you to my friend for lending it to me for a couple weeks. I would really love to see this thing hit the mainstream. If you have the chance to try one or pick one up because you're in Asia, I would highly, highly recommend it if you like the kind of rackets that I like. If you don't, you like something headlight, you'll probably hate this, but yeah, I love this racket. I really wish it was more readily available. If it was, it would be something I would loosely consider switching to. It is a little bit unforgiving compared to the 100 more powerful 100 square inch rackets that I've really been enjoying lately, but it syncs up with my swing on the forehand in the same way that my Rafa does. It just gives me that confidence, that magic, that looseness through the swing that I'm always looking for out of rackets and can rarely find. This is an absolute gem. Please, Wilson. Oh yeah, and when it comes to string setups, I tried 2 different string setups. Both were great, suggesting that it's not a super string sensitive racket. Both I was able to really feel the ball on the string bed. Both I was still able to feel that flexing of the frame. Both gave me very consistent performance. The first was Confidential 17, so 120 millimeter diameter on that one. Really nice, rich, solid feel. A little bit low on power, so that's when I put in this setup, which is Tourline Otoro Orange and Otoro Snap Tour Flex in the crosses. I think it perfectly matches the aesthetic of this frame because you got these light teal accents with little orange Wilson stamps all over it. I just love how this thing looks. It's the glossy kind of ultra color, same as the Ultra 99 Pro, which I thought looked really nice in person. I just used it stock, but with a leather grip. I did try it with a few grams of putty in the butt because that's how my friend had it set up, but I liked it without that. I thought that slowed it down, made it swing a little bit weird for my game personally, but yeah. I love this racket. Do I think it's like objectively a great racket? Do I think everyone is going to think it's as good as me? No. It is not, doesn't have that all-around appeal that something like the E-Zone 100 is going to have. It has a more unique characteristic to it. It's more like my Pure Aero Rafa in that way, where it has a lot of personality. It has flaws. In this case, it's the forgiveness is the flaw, but it's all just part of the fun, man. Like, this is a great racket. If you can't tell, I'm absolutely